It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone to face, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, Legion Baseball Talk. Almost knocked my dude over, man. Can't have that. Got to keep the minions upright.
Right. It's all about the minions.
And we got some Legion Baseball talk today with local. We're right down the road here a little bit, here in St. Charles, Post 312, Coach Brandon Baker. Thanks for joining us, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, this is what it's about, talking Legion Baseball. And it's off season. It's December, just before the holidays and all that. Everybody's kind of winding down a little bit, and
Yep.
so
This is where the work actually starts.
Yeah, right. So first and foremost, why don't you give folks a little bit an overview? What's your role with the Post?
So I just took over for Russ Clicker as the baseball chairman for Post 312. So I overall see the program kind of take his vision and run with it, I guess. We're trying to grow the program as much as we can now. We've got a AA and a senior team and coaching staffs for both those. I do assistant coach on the senior level team, but our head coach is more than thorough there. I just hit fungos. And other than that, I try and put things together to grow the program and help us compete for kids right now. I mean, it's in the metro area here, we've got around 70 programs that we compete with for players, and trying to put the Legion name out there and get us a good squad, which we've really assembled a good group of kids this year for our senior team and our AA team. So
what's your base school?
So our base school is St. Charles West. And
St. Charles West.
And we also
St. Charles High.
No, I believe it's St. Charles West.
Okay.
And we draw from St. Charles High, Orchard Farm, Francis Howell North, Duchesne. And then we also have players, just because the way Legion baseball works, there's only 18 roster spots. Mm-hmm. We compete with our area posts also for players, but we do have a few from Lutheran, a few from neighboring schools and
the
things
private
like
schools, right?
Right.
Yeah. Can you go to St. Dominic as well as in a private? Is that within the rules?
If a kid from St. Dominic wanted to play for us, we would go through the process of doing that. It's just a matter of going through a waiver process with their local post and getting them to sign off and letting that player play for us.
So how long have you been with American Legion Baseball?
This is my second year.
Second year?
Second year. My son tried out for the team, and I'd had a background in coaching. And so after he made the team, I knew some of the people that were assistant coaches, that Tom Reed being one of them. It's like, hey, we're always looking for help. And it's like, oh, I have a hard time saying no to this. I kind of caught the coaching bug back before I even had children. So I was like, oh, I'll twist my arm. I guess so. I'm going to be at practice anyway, so might as well be productive.
So talk to us about St. Charles, is now stepping into this chairman role. What are some of the initiatives? What's behind what you're doing, the role? What's your thought process over the next 5 and 10 years?
Well, I would like to see the program get to the point where we are unapologetically elite. Legion baseball for the past 20 years has kind of taken a back seat to the area clubs and people who've been able to market themselves a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I tell people sometimes now that I'm with American Legion baseball, and I get, that still exists. And it's like, that shocks me, because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and if you made the Legion team, you were a darn good ball player.
You were a good baseball player.
And here it's like, oh, well, if I don't make these 5 teams, I can go to the Legion. And we don't want that anymore. And our program has done a massive pivot from that in the last 3 to 5 years. Whereas, this year we're looking to be on the radar. I mean, they went to the trouble of having a state championship. I feel like we might as well win the thing.
Might as well.
Might as well.
Get dressed up and go do it.
Right. They're having a tournament. Let's go. But, to do that, you've got to beat the Ellisvilles. You've got to beat Washington. You've got to be able to compete with teams like Moberly and things like that. To do that, you've got to recruit the right kids and you've got to have the right culture set up. And from a culture standpoint, you can't have hey, it's okay that you just booted that ball. It's okay that you did that. That's fine in the lower levels. But for our AAA team, we have to set a standard that we're here to compete and win.
And here's the thing, and I've said this, and I continue to talk about this because I think it's interesting where club baseball, everybody kind of says, well, no, American Legion Baseball has been around doing club baseball for a lot longer than anybody else.
100 years,
right? And I think it's interesting that now with this thought process, having to compete at that level, I think it puts a different level of or an onus on the Legion programs. And I've seen it a lot with the guys coming in like yourself with a plan, with a thought process moving forward, and a clear goal is how you want to build the program.
Right. Now we want to establish a culture that we're developing the whole individual. We're not just going to put you on the baseball field for baseball purposes. Everything we do is going to enrich them throughout the rest of their lives. We've partnered with a place in Chesterfield called Mind Body Endurance.
Oh, cool.
That does sports psychology.
Yeah.
Bianca Latham, we brought in for a seminar, and she'll be working with us throughout the year. She's actually trying to coordinate time to get in and watch a practice just to see. I mean, we're in a failure-based sport. Yep. And a lot of these guys are more, they're the energy drink and TikTok generation. They want instant gratification, and baseball does not give you that. You can't just go make a layup and feel better like you can in basketball or kick a goal in there. Just throwing the ball up and hitting it's a little bit more challenging than some of those activities. So she's going to help us work on visualizing, work on handling the stress of that and focusing in the moment. And I think that will give these guys not only an edge in the on-deck circle and in the batter's box, but also when they're cramming for a test, when they've got 6 finals 2 or 3 years from now, when they're facing deadlines and things, and they've got to focus and prioritize. Hopefully that will give them an advantage there too.
With your program, you look at, and I understand it's a process through it, but what are you guys setting in place as far as, workouts early? Where do you work out? What do you do? Because, you're competing, as you said, with like Gators and Premier Sports Academy, maybe even competing with St. Peter's and
that's the thing.
Post 313, and you're competing for players within those other organizations. Midland, I'm sure I'm missing a ton of them.
Those places have resources, and they have built in. This is our facility. We own it. We rent it to other people. We have a pretty good deal with a friend of our head coaches that has a warehouse facility that has a gym and batting cages set up.
Oh, sweet!
So we kind of have that to our advantage there as well.
Kind of have your own spot where you can go and work out.
Right. And I would give you the name, but I'm not going to. It's
it's hush hush. It's top secret, man.
I mean, literally no sign on it, just a little white door. You open it up, and the batting cage is there. It's like, okay, this is awesome. This is ours.
Angels singing and all that. Right?
We pay for it. We use it, but we don't want to. Right now, it's pretty easy to schedule time, so we don't want to mess that up.
I understand.
That's something we can offer. Something we can offer our players. It's also we're trying to. In the spirit of being a club baseball team, we have a 12U team that is
I love that.
With us.
I love that.
13U team that's with us. We can offer them those resources as well as the mentorship of the high school players.
And then that's a development of the program at the lower levels that says this is the kind of player we're looking for, what we want, how we want to develop that player.
Right. We can kind of mold them into what we're looking for. And at the same time, we've got them thinking Legion baseball.
Yeah.
As a kid who plays 8U for the Max Rep Bats or the Recruits or somebody else, they grow up thinking this is my team, this is my club.
Right.
We want that for post 312. And honestly, American Legion baseball as a whole, probably is going to go that route at some point. The infrastructure is just not there yet.
Right.
But we're definitely going
But
to
you know
capitalize.
what? But I think that's that. I think it's there for anybody to do that. But the toughest thing, and this is, I think, the most difficult thing for, I think, the transition for American Legion baseball
Mm-hmm.
is the resources. Right. Always relied on posts and a lot of funding from posts and things like that, and kept the cost down. And I don't think you have to spend $8 million to do everything and whatnot. I don't. I understand, but I think they've always been very cost thoughtful.
Absolutely.
And I think American Legion baseball is still that way. And I think in-state stuff, I think it's still great that way. So, I think that is the challenge, is how do you create that and keep that into that cost effective scenario, right?
I think one of the advantages the Legion has that we'll probably start leveraging more as this goes on is, one, we have a decent feeling of patriotism in the country right now. A veterans organization always gets a little bit of not preferential treatment, but you're happy to help a veterans organization. Right. American Legion, VFW, both right now have very aging membership. So we need to drive that more. We can get their membership up by recruiting these 10, 11-year-old people to play for us. Just on our team alone, we've probably had a few people join the American Legion. I did. I mean, I joined the American Legion as soon as I came on board.
Because you're a veteran?
It's like it makes sense to do this. And I grew up in it.
Had you thought of that before?
My dad was a post commander when I was a kid. Okay. So I grew up, I grew up serving alcohol to gamblers in the American Legion Hall as like a 12-year-old. It's like, was there enough whiskey in that drink, ma'am?
Okay, I think good. That is a first.
Make them strong.
I think that's a first on the Youth Baseball Midwest channel right there, folks.
Well, that's the childhood.
I love it.
But no, I grew up in the American Legion. Like you said, my dad was a past commander,
but you had not joined yourself.
No, not until I came on board with this. It never really clicked in my mind, and I had, I've got 3 kids all playing different sports and going around. So who has time? Now it's kind of a part of my life to be ingrained in the American Legion. So you might as well go, and the Foxhole's open now, so you might as well go up there.
Right.
They have a lot of stuff. And also, me being a member and some of our coaches and families being a member helps the team become a part of the Legion Post. Rather than just sponsor us, we want to be a part of it. So we volunteered ourselves to work some of their dinners. Now with Post 312, they've had some facilities issues that's kind of prevented them from doing some things. But there's no reason why I can't have teenagers up there in uniform running spaghetti dinners out to cars, or helping do some things, rehabbing some of their facilities, washing and waxing floors, cleaning tables, things like that.
Oh my gosh, that's work.
Well, we plan to Mr. Miyagi that stuff. It's like, okay, we're going to figure out if we'll get our pitchers,
we'll wax
scrubbers.
Oh, I love it.
Get some scrubbers on your feet, take a stride. Now you're, stripping and waxing floors. We'll figure it out. We'll get there. Catcher drill. Seems like our catchers could really do a good job on those floors. So, that's part of the goal there. And we like to volunteer. Last year, we did some activities with one of the Food Oasis, or the Oasis Food Bank. This winter, we're going to be helping with an organization called Wreaths Across America that does, they go to Jefferson Barracks and they retire the wreaths that are on their, on the gravestones there that they put out there, because come middle of January, those things are looking a little rough.
Right.
But they need bodies to do all the lifting and turning. And I actually met a guy outside of Walmart up here who was selling poppies. And I was like, we can help with that. And he's like, what do you have? And I'm like, I have about 40 teenagers. He's like, I got a use for that. Like, okay, here we go. So,
and to me, I think that's where, and we've been working now with the American Legion for the last few years. And I've seen, and there are some posts, but the more I've talked to coaches and directors and things like that, they say, yeah, we want to, but we just haven't, and maybe the post itself has kind of dwindled and there isn't
Mhm.
much going on. So I think that gets a little difficult sometimes in some of these communities, but post 312 is a pretty good size post.
Right. I think it's one of the biggest in the state, if not the biggest, as far as membership. I think the membership's near 1,000.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense for us to work with them. The benefits go both ways
Sure.
if we're used appropriately. And I'm all for using those guys as long as I don't have to actually do the work and just watch it. I'm all for it.
Oh, there you go.
That's
Well, but
that's why you coach, right?
But again, I think this is an important part of that growth piece. And I don't think it's done too much in other organizations outside of American Legion that way. I know some do, and I know
Mhm.
they do. And I think there's people that are conscious of teaching the kids, to give back and do, and the community's helped you with fundraisers and things of that nature and whatnot. So to give of your time and a little bit and a little maybe sweat and
Oh,
maybe a
absolutely.
tear or two here and there.
Well, I think it benefits
If-
them to be around those guys too, especially if
Absolutely.
the more time you can spend around the World War II generation. I think for character development for a young man, 16, 17, to talk to someone who literally was a part of saving the world from evil, that can't be a bad thing. There might be some politically incorrect things, but the gist of it is you do what you're supposed to. You do what you're called to do. And then you talk to the veterans who are up there now. And, most of those guys were drafted into Vietnam.
Mhm.
They made some sacrifices. There's guys up there that can show you the wounds, that can show
Yeah.
you these things. And it's like, I did this to help people fight for freedom. Giving of yourself like that impacts these guys in ways that you probably aren't going to see immediately. But down the road, maybe they're like, man, this guy I ran into was very interesting. And here's why
Yeah.
he was interesting. And here's, something I took away from that interaction.
Working to maybe even develop some of those relationships long term. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Because, baseball at some point we all stop playing the game
Right.
in one way or the other. And we have to get back, you'll be in the community working with family things and whatnot. So I think it is important to build that within the kids in those respects as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not just sitting at home playing video games. It's not just doing that. I mean, there's a time for that, but at some point, each generation has a time where they're supposed to step up. And the more you learn about that early on, the more you can say, okay, this is coming. Now it's our time to kind of evolve and do these things.
I'm all for getting off the couch and not playing the video games and spending less time, like I said, time for it, but spending less time playing the video games and spending more time being productive in other things.
Right. And I think they got to find a balance with that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
one thing I like about our group of guys is that they do seem like they genuinely enjoy being around each other. I mean, you've got guys from different high schools. They've played against each other. Some of them,
Sure.
They're like, oh, I remember when you were on the Rebels. I remember when you did this. But they do interact with each other, not to the level we're hoping for yet, but,
Mhm.
They're going to get there.
Yeah. Now, talk to us about head coach of the 19U squad.
Ryan Brown.
Talk
Ryan
to
Brown's
us-
a great guy. Shorter than I am. So right there, I like him.
Sure. I love it.
You don't see that very often. So Ryan plays in the area, and he's played adult baseball since he graduated college. He went to Culver Stockton, so he gives our players that insight. He gives them, years and years of playing experience and, breaking things down to a little level. But at heart, he's a player. He's a player that coaches. So he brings a lot of enthusiasm to it. He's played almost every position. So he can speak to the little nuances of third base, catching, outfield, whatever you need. It's awesome to see these guys struggling off the pitching machine, hitting curveballs, and then he gets in there and is hitting every single thing to right field. He's like, I don't see what's hard about this guy. Just do it. Just get in here and hit it. But he can actually show them,
I
break
understand
things
what
down and say, here's how you do it. Here's what you're doing wrong. And from a mentoring perspective, he's right there with them. It's our practices. We break things down a little bit and then we drill on it. We don't go till we get it right. We go till we got it great. It's not just do it and then we're going to move on. We're going to do this till it's automatic. And they see the benefit of that, and they see him out there to it. I mean, there's a difference between the coach holding the coffee cup, just sitting there yelling at everybody, and the coach out there fielding and running around with them.
with with baseball in the nature of where we're at in today's baseball world, for lack of, you got a 17U and a 19U team, right?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think our double A team probably doesn't have any 17, maybe one 17-year-old on it. The rest of it is all the 19Us. We moved up with that. So our double A team from last year pretty much ascended to the triple A level.
So you just have the 19U team this year?
No, we have a double A team also. That's
Okay.
17U.
Yeah.
But most of those guys could also probably play 16U. We're a very young team.
Yeah, I understand. I put it, in those terminologies because, A, double A, triple A to
Means
most
different
kids
things.
means different things. So 17U, I understand it's 17 and under,
Yeah.
so I get that.
I tend to think of it varsity JV.
Because that 17U, right, same thing. 17U, you're looking at, a thought process where a lot of those kids, that's the big year for that push to scouting. And if you want to go to the next level in college and whatnot, when you get to that 18U level, hey, you're playing just to kind of make sure you keep yourself in competition.
Right.
If you haven't made a decision, you're still in that mode a little bit. But, how is Coach working and you guys working together? Is he working with that team as well to develop those kids? How is the program coalescing that way?
So we kind of have a general philosophy that we send down to everybody. And then we don't have joint practices so much as we did last year. We're kind of letting the junior team do its own thing because those coaches have known those players for a long time. That team was more or less absorbed as freshmen. So they're doing okay. And we have some input into it. We watch it. We definitely pay attention to what they're doing.
Right.
And we're aware. This is their best player. This is who we're going to have coming up the pitch. We're also focusing on, anything we offer. So I mentioned before the sports psychologist. That's obviously open to the entire enterprise. That's open to the whole team.
I like that part. I think that's cool. We
just had Coach Adam Core from Lindenwood come and give a presentation on this is what I expect from a college athlete. This is what you need to do to be here. Kind of set a few people straight with their delusions of saying, I can't believe LSU's not calling me yet. And it's like, well, you're 5'7", 108 pounds.
They're not going to
LSU gymnastics might call you, but
you better get stronger.
Right. And he was pretty upfront. He's like, I expect guys to hit the weight room on their own. I expect you to do this. And, this is, I look at your PBR stats first before I even talk to you. I look at this, if you're not exit velocity off the tee isn't XYZ, I have no use for you. And a light bulb went off on a lot of them. Like, wow, I need to get to work if I want to do this. And some
That's
of them
Division I baseball.
Yeah, and some of them were like, well. And then you go online, and some of them, the more motivated ones, will go and look and say, okay, well, if I want to play for SEMO or I want to play for S&T or somewhere like that, this is where I need to be. And they hit the gym and respond accordingly.
Brandon, it's to your point. We did, I think it was a show last week with Kevin Mulder with Baseball Talk. We're looking at a couple of players. We're looking at I think he's the top senior in the 2025 class in the state of Missouri. Going to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at the rankings and I'm going down, and there's another young man who is at 28, okay, going to Mo State. Division I programs. But this Power 5, what they call mid-major, and you break and you look and see this young man is at 94, this young man's at 89.
Mm-hmm.
Pitchers.
Yep.
They're pitchers.
Huge
equal,
difference.
Right-handed pitchers, boom, equal. The one 6'5", 6'3", and all of a sudden you see a little bit of that. That doesn't mean that young man there couldn't go to a Power 5 maybe in a couple of years if he chose to transfer. And I mean, the transfer, it's free agency.
Absolutely.
We all know that. But that's the thing, and I don't think kids understand that when you start looking at the metrics, they start at those metrics. It isn't everything to a coach.
Right.
It's not everything, but it's a starting point, right?
Yeah, it's a minimum requirement almost. Like if you,
There you
if you
go.
throw
Thank
out, if you throw out a resume, you've got to get through HR first before you do your actual interview.
Right.
This is kind of that. And, there are intangibles that you can't gauge. And
Right.
that's where the
And
coaches,
they know that.
and that's where, Coach Cord did a good job, I think, of imparting that wisdom on our team, is saying, I watch you from the minute you get out of your car.
Yes.
I watch you as you're warming up, as you're interacting. We had a similar thing from Coach Hendrickson when we were asking him, what's your biggest problem? He's like, my freshmen don't know how to play catch. My freshmen show up and they've got earpods in, and they're, just running their mouths, and they're kind of throwing. He goes, and they're throwing 20 throws when I would want them to have 60 throws in, because they think it's social hour. And, he's like, these things matter. And he's like, these are people I picked, and they're still not they're not what I would have wanted 4 or 5 years ago. They're just, it's a different generation. So our kids knowing that now and hearing it, because obviously I'm a dad, I'm a coach, I've been around for a long time. I don't know anything. But
you do.
Here's the coach from Lindenwood saying, I'm watching you when you get out of your car. I'm watching how you talk to your mom. If your mom brings you a blue Gatorade and you wanted an orange Gatorade, are you the kid that's like, oh, thanks, Mom, and you shut up and drink it? Or do you throw it down and throw a fit? Because one of those kids gets a scholarship. The other one gets, all of a sudden you're a legend and you don't want to be.
Yeah, that's the reality of it, isn't it? And that's the thing. And giving these kids an opportunity to hear that at that level, I think is huge. And that just goes to building culture within your program.
Right. That's one of the things I want 5 years from now, is for us to be on the level of, I always reference the Ellsbury team the last year, because honestly, that's the best high school team I've ever been on a baseball field with. I mean, they just straight destroyed us. And it was as pleasurable an experience as you can have with that, just because you're
getting your butt whooped.
Well, you're in the presence of you were in the presence of greatness. I mean, you're watching our guys give their absolute best effort, and these kids are hitting balls over the fence that the outfield's going to need a passport to catch.
Right.
And it's like, that's where I want this program to go. And you can't do that unless you're saying from day one, this is what we want.
And here's the thing, and this is what you're dealing with, because that Ellsbury squad they were as loaded. And many of those kids are in junior college, Jeffco, Mineral Area, State Fair, you name it. Avon Weaver, the one pitcher, he's at UCM,
right?
One of the top Division II programs in the country. That's the thing about this. And you have to understand, to get to that level, what does it take to get there?
Right.
And these kids, they've got to, it's work.
Right.
It's work.
I think when they see the effort we put into them, I think they're old enough and mature enough now to kind of see where that gets given back. I live with one of the players, and I think he sees it. I think he sees the work that we put in behind the scenes. He sees me write 27, back and forth with the head coach before a game, arguing over who's going to be in the 6 or 7 hole.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this guy, what if he gets on base? Well, this guy bunts well. This guy's fast. And this guy, he sees that. And I think that kind of gets translated into, okay, these guys care. I'm not just a guy going out there, and these aren't just weekend coaches. We're doing this year round, thinking about it, worrying about it. And I think the players understand that. And I think we get a little more out of them because of it.
Absolutely. I love it. You guys coming out Centennial games to play?
I believe so.
Sweet.
I believe so.
Love
That is the intention. We're hoping to get 25 to 30 games in this season. I don't want to do 60.
No,
but we do have. We've got a roster of around 18, so we can handle. We've got some depth.
There's the difference. I love that thought process, because then you got to make sure you have the pitching depth to play that many games.
Right.
It's one thing to schedule it; it's another thing to play it.
Oh yeah. And
nobody really understands. Why are we only playing 25 games? Because we have this many arms.
Right.
And that's our, and I love that. I think that's understanding where you guys are at.
By the time they get to us, they've played a full high school season.
True.
So if you're a good pitcher, you've already got a lot of innings on that arm. And now we're asking you to pitch from February until, middle of July, hopefully.
I think they can do it, because they should be pretty ramped up by then.
Right.
But you want to make sure you're maintaining the health, the arm care. But if you get another 30 innings in a kid there, that's a lot.
Well, you don't know how they're going to respond. You also carry a roster like that because injuries happen, vacations happen. They're still kids.
Yep.
And, I know from having a high school junior, you start that clock's ticking in your head of how much more time do I have before he's gone, before he's, not going here every weekend and we're not going on vacation together and we're not doing these things. So I think other families probably feel that too. They don't want to spend every waking free moment at a baseball diamond.
Yeah. There are some that do.
There are, but
there are some that do, but I think there are a lot of people that, we got a house at the lake we haven't seen, in 3 years.
Right. And it's like with us, with carrying a roster like that, it's like, are you going on vacation? Yeah, we're going on vacation. Okay. Well, we'll manage.
If we miss this, but hey guys, we got to space it out. We can't have everybody go in the same week.
Right. And usually it's like, can we please try and coordinate this a little bit?
Right.
But I know in the fall we played in a tournament here at C&H Park. It was just a nice thing. Once we put our team together for fall, it's like, let's get together. We did a warm-up game against the Winsville team out at Winsville, but it was free substitution, calling balls and strikes from behind the mound. And the Winsville team was like in the same boat we were. Like, let's get some guys out here. It's like, do you have jerseys? We haven't even ordered jerseys yet. So no, but we played, and then we played in this tournament. We ended up finishing second. But we ran out of pitching because we had some guys playing high school football, couldn't make it for whatever reasons. And it really drove home the points. Like, even for a weekend tournament, you need pitching depth, and we didn't have it. We kind of ran out, or we had to be really judicious with it and just basically.
And if one guy blows up.
Oh, yeah. It's like once you
trouble.
start getting rocked, it's like, well, you're getting rocked, but we need 3 more innings. So it's like, I think we're taking the L today, guys. I think we're just going to have to grin and bear
Those people out of the stands,
right.
baby.
Right. It's like, we can still make it to the championship game if we lose, right? Okay, good. It's like, let's try and lose and not give up 8 runs. How's that sound?
I like it. Brandon, hey, man, enjoyed it.
Yeah, been a fun time.
Enjoy the conversation. Love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. I think it's great. I love the thought process, because the guys we've talked to, Connor, and I'm sure you've talked with Copeland over in Kirkwood.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Was great. A lot of the same philosophies of movement and people doing a lot of the same. I think it's going well for us.
Yeah, I think we're looking
American
good.
Legion.
I mean, I know Russ Clicker started a big turnaround with our post, for going from driving all over the countryside collecting jerseys to now we buy them. And people are, we had a lot of people at the tryout 2 years ago. We had a ton of people at this last year's tryout. I mean, we were cutting good kids, which a few years ago wasn't happening. We were begging guys on C teams to play.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can kind of foster more of a competitive environment. I think that's what kids this age are looking for, is a chance.
Yeah,
and we've got great competition. We've got an outstanding price point that no club can beat as far as putting your player
And you
on
got
roster.
facility.
And we've got resources behind us, not
Yeah,
to mention
yeah.
100 years of tradition, which I think this year we'll capitalize a lot on.
Yeah.
I think it'll really be special for those guys to feel like they're part of something.
Absolutely. Cool beans, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for tuning in to Legion Baseball Talk today. We appreciate our guests. It's the last show of the year.
Wow.
You're ending on a bang, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back after the holiday break. Back in January, second week in January though. Second week. Middle, we're heading out on the winter workout tour. Make sure you follow us. We're gonna work to roll into some of the American Legion winter workouts. What's going on there? We got a big to do coming up with Youth Baseball Midwest. So please, if you like what we're doing, take a moment, hit the subscribe button, hit the dinger next to it. It isn't a home run, but it does get you notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. So we appreciate you doing that. We appreciate you supporting Youth Baseball Midwest. Hey, don't forget, we're doing the Centennial Games. It is the 100th anniversary of American Legion Baseball coming up in 2025. We're going to be celebrating. We're putting on the Centennial Games, as you heard me say a moment ago. That will be out at the WAC, Warrenton Athletic Complex. We got Illinois teams coming.
Excellent.
I know some guys started to see if we can get some other teams from other states. Some other guys are starting to work Arkansas or Kansas. So I'm looking forward to it. We already got a bunch of teams in it. Moberly, Kirkwood. I know Jeff City's coming. Washington, Ellsbury, St. Charles. So if you're out there, you're listening, you haven't reached out to us to let us know you'd like to come and play, please do. Please do. The information's down below. We'll have the link in the description below, so you can check that out. So please do. It's going to be great. If you have somebody, a post member, a veteran, somebody who you would like to put up to throw out a first pitch, please let us know. We want to celebrate American Legion and American Legion baseball in the state of Missouri. So we appreciate everything, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, you got some advice for pitchers? Are you a pitcher or a hitter?
I was neither.
Well, then give them some advice. Huh?
Take failure in stride and learn from it. That's my baseball playing experience.
That's both sides. There you go. That's both sides. There you go. We'll see y'all next time.